Mitt Romney says that investigating voter fraud and election law violations is nutty and loopy. GOP leader Kevin McCarthy receives an FBI briefing on Chinese spy lover Eric Swalwell. Plus, Democrats and Republicans come to terms on a coronavirus relief bill. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is the 13-Minute News Hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, welcome to the show. Happy Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. If you're new to the show, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to start with Mitt Romney. But first, folks, if you missed Saturday's live stream, check out the link right there. I had a great discussion with Larry Elder. He is absolutely awesome. You need to check out his film, Uncle Tom. It is such a great documentary. Check out the discussion. We talked about the issues. We talked about the film. I think you'll really enjoy this show. All right, but for today, we're going to talk about Mitt Romney because he was on CNN this weekend. It's like CNN's favorite Republican. They bring Mitt Romney out so he can just bash on the president. Remember, this was the one guy that voted to convict President Trump on one of the articles of impeachment. And even now, he continues to criticize the president for seeking out, investigating if this was a free and fair election. Coming to the bottom of election law violations, these claims of voter fraud, he criticizes the president for it. So he was on Jake Tapper's show, and it's just so frustrating to watch because it seems like these two are members of the same club, this elitist inside the Beltway gang that's trading banter and bashing on President Trump and his group of deplorable supporters. Here's how it started.
President Trump held a meeting on Friday in which he reportedly discussed with his disgraced former National Security Advisor, Michael Flynn, this deranged idea to declare martial law, to force new elections in states that Biden won. They also have discussed appointing conspiracy theorist Sidney Powell as a special counsel to investigate her baseless claims of election fraud, and also issuing an executive order to seize voting machines. This is, needless to say, quite alarming and scary to a lot of people.
All right, so where do you even start? In that one brief statement, that one opening statement, he says disgraced to talk about General Flynn. He talks about deranged, talk about this bogus martial law story. He talks about conspiracy theorists to describe Sidney Powell. And of course, he throws in the baseless claims because they always have to talk about baseless claims, even though there's so much evidence out there, so many affidavits, so many election law violations that need to be heard. Yet all they'll do is throw out baseless claims and do no actual investigating. It is absolutely outrageous. And speaking of this claim of martial law, it's just a bogus story, folks. President Trump got on Twitter and he addressed that one directly. Martial law equals fake news, just more knowingly bad reporting. So that's President Trump on this martial law claim that Jake Tapper, of course, decided to bring up. But that opened the door for Mitt Romney. He got to jump in, and he wasted no time going after President Trump.
Well, it's not going to happen. That's going nowhere. And I understand the president is casting about, trying to find some way to have a different result than the one that was delivered by the American people.
All right, let's stop there real quick because I want to point out one thing. What the president wants is exactly the opposite of what Romney is talking about. The president will accept and wants to know the will of the American people. The fact is that with all of these allegations of voter fraud, with election law violations, we do not know what the true will is of the free, fair, and legal vote. We don't know that. That's what they're trying to find out. Yet Mitt Romney, you would think, as a Republican leader, would want to know that too, would want to know the fair results. And when there are so many red flags out there, you'd think he would want to investigate it. But no, the globalist elitists just want to move along and play nice with their left-wing brethren. That's Mitt Romney, and here's more.
But it's really sad in a lot of respects and embarrassing because the president could right now be writing the last chapter of this administration with a victory lap with regards to the vaccine.
Sad and embarrassing. Sad and embarrassing to examine voter fraud and election law violations. I wish someone, some honest reporter, would just go up to Mitt Romney and say, do you think that state legislatures are the ones who control election laws? It says that in the Constitution. But just ask him, do you think that is the case? And then say, do you think those laws were violated in places like Pennsylvania and Georgia and other battleground states? Just ask him those simple questions and see what he says. Instead, Romney talks that it's sad and embarrassing, and then goes on to say that Trump should focus on the coronavirus vaccine because that's such a big accomplishment, as if the media would really give him credit. We saw that interview with Jake Tapper, and Bill Gates didn't want to give President Trump any credit for this, yet Mitt Romney thinks that that's the way to go. And here's more.
Instead, he's leaving Washington with a whole series of conspiracy theories and things that are so nutty and loopy that people are shaking their head wondering what in the world has gotten into this man.
Conspiracy theories are nutty and loopy. That's what he says. He says investigating these election law violations, these claims of voter fraud, the over 1,000 affidavits is nutty and loopy. That's how he described it. And the thing is, we all know how Rollover Romney would have reacted if he were in this situation. He would have moved on months ago and just said, yeah, go ahead, left. Media, I don't want to offend you. I don't want to offend the Democrats at all. You guys go ahead. I pretty much believe there was some voter fraud, but man, I'm not going to bring it up. I don't want to offend anybody. I don't actually look for the truth. You guys win. We'll just play nice. Give me a break. So next, we're going to talk about Kevin McCarthy and Eric Swalwell. But first, if you're new to the show or haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified. We're making our push for 150,000 subscribers, and we can do it with your help. All right, so we're going to talk about Eric Swalwell because right now there are two stories that the media doesn't want anyone to talk about. You can't talk about them. That's Hunter Biden, Eric Swalwell. So today we're going to talk about Eric Swalwell. This is the Chinese spy lover. He let a spy work him over as he's working his way up into Congress, and then this guy gets put on the House Intelligence Committee. Well, Kevin McCarthy received an FBI briefing along with Nancy Pelosi, and coming out of that, you could see his face. He just looked shocked. He said there's no way Swalwell should still be on the committee. So he was talking to Maria Bartiromo this weekend, and here's McCarthy.
At Friday, we finally got our FBI briefing. It was just the Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, and myself. It was a very thorough briefing. No one that was in that room could walk out and say Eric Swalwell should be on the Intel Committee. I don't know, they had a briefing before in 2015, and I don't know what that briefing was like compared to this one, but it could not have been the same.
So there was an FBI briefing 5 years ago, and Eric Swalwell is still on the committee. He is still on the House Intelligence Committee, and it seems like the Democrats don't even care. They don't care about anything regarding the Chinese, which really is a red flag, and it makes you wonder. I mean, Senator Dianne Feinstein, for 20 years, she had a driver who turned out to be a Chinese spy. Christine Fang, the one who worked Swalwell over, there's a picture of her and the Chinese spy that worked for Dianne Feinstein. This is all a network, folks. This is what's going on. And again, Kevin McCarthy came out of that briefing shocked about Swalwell's involvement with Christine Fang. And here's how he described it and what happened next.
This is so concerning. And then, as a very junior member, just in his second term, he gets named to the Intel Committee. And that exact same year, when the FBI came to brief the Intel Committee because they were concerned of what they saw, he gets put as the ranking Democrat over the CIA. I do not understand how this has continued this long. And the first time I've heard about it or got a briefing on it was Friday, and I would never allow him on that committee.
Wow, what a mess. It is an absolute mess. And as McCarthy said in that interview, Nancy Pelosi can make the call right now to get Swalwell off the committee. She hasn't done it. She won't address it. She thinks everything's okay. That right there, there is no way she should be Speaker. McCarthy should challenge her, regardless of if the Republicans won the House. They close that margin, take her on, because this is just dereliction of duty. There is no way Swalwell should be on that committee. So next, let's talk about coronavirus relief bill, because over the weekend, Democrats and Republicans finally came to terms on a package. They've been talking about these stimulus checks for Americans for a long time. And let me just remind you of this before we go into the details. Recall that even before the election, months ago, President Trump said, Give me a bill for stimulus checks, I'll sign it. Give me a bill that helps small businesses, I'll sign it. We need to get that relief to the American people. The president said it. He was ready to go. Nancy Pelosi held it back, wanted to load it with junk for blue states that are inept in running their governments, stuff for illegal aliens. She wanted to pack that all in there and make it a political move. She did not want to give President Trump a win on coronavirus relief before the election. That's how much she cares about the American people. As far as the details of this bill, here's the story. Capitol Hill leaders finalized a roughly $900 billion coronavirus relief package Sunday, breaking through 8 months of partisan gridlock to tee up much-needed relief before the holidays. More help is on the way, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Kentucky Republican, said. At long last, we have the bipartisan breakthrough the country has needed. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, New York Democrat, said the final agreement was far from perfect, but will at least help a nation in the throes of a genuine emergency. So, after months, there's finally a deal. A $900 billion deal on top of the trillions that we've already spent on coronavirus relief. And why? Because we decided that the way to combat this in a free society was to completely shut down our economy and tell a large segment of the American people that you are not essential, that you can't go to work, your job does not matter. Rather than informing people in a free society and say, here are the vulnerable, you guys make your own decisions on your own safety, stay in if you need to, avoid crowds, wear a mask if you want to, protect yourself. Nope. They told American people, you are not essential, you can't work, you have to rely on the government, you have to shut your businesses down, you have to lay off people, maybe not even have your business again. That's what happened, and this is the situation we're in, and it's just absolutely outrageous, folks, that we would put ourselves in this situation, and yet here we are, and here are the details of the bill. The final text of the deal has not been released, but it will include a round of scaled-back $600 direct stimulus payments per adult and dependents, $300 a week in boosted unemployment benefits, and more than $300 billion for small business relief, $284 specifically for the Paycheck Protection Program. According to a summary released by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, California Democrat, and Mr. Schumer, there will also be $25 billion in rental assistance, $13 billion for food security programs, and a $7 billion broadband fund. States will receive funds specifically for coronavirus-related issues, including $82 billion for education, $27 billion for testing and healthcare programs, and more than $30 billion for vaccine distribution. So this is what it's come down to in the United States of America. There are states that are still having lockdowns. So lock down yourselves, don't go to work, and rely on the government to bail you out. Rely on the government to pay your rent instead of you working for yourself. It's just outrageous. And talk about the science. I just want to leave you with one thing about following the science that the Democrats say. They're working to keep the airlines going. People can fly. So you can be in a cramped, confined space on an airline, but you can't go out to eat in a socially distanced restaurant. Think about that as far as the Democrats and following the science. All right, so next, let's give an election update. President Trump wants to take his Pennsylvania case to the Supreme Court. He's pitching it over there. And to me, this is a big one. This is a big one because, in my opinion, this is a clear violation of what Pennsylvania did of election laws. The Constitution vests the power for election laws with the state legislatures, not the governor, not the courts, not some commission, but the state legislatures. Pennsylvania clearly violated it, and a win on this issue sends a message to Georgia and other battleground states that also violated election laws, also went around their state legislatures to enact laws to help the left, which are so obvious. This is a big case, folks, and here's the story. The president's legal team on Sunday filed a new petition with the Supreme Court asking to reverse a trio of decisions from the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, easing some of the state's election rules related to signature verification, election day observation, and mail-in ballot declarations. They are also asking the court to allow the Pennsylvania General Assembly to pick its own slate of electors. Collectively, these three decisions resulted in counting approximately 2.6 million ballots in violation of the law as enacted by the Pennsylvania legislature. Trump's attorney, John Eastman, wrote in the filing. So again, to me, this is cut and dry. They went around signature verifications. They accepted ballots late. There were rules set in place by the Pennsylvania legislature that were violated. The governor says, just do your own thing. The Democrat-leaning Supreme Court in Pennsylvania said, yeah, we'll just do that as well. That is not how it works, folks. It is cut and dry. We're not talking about ballot stuffing or voting machines or anything like that. We are talking about laws that are on the books and these folks violating them. This is a big story, and here's more. The campaign team said the decision by the state's top court to extend the statutory deadline for receipt of mail ballots from 8 p.m. on Election Day to 5 p.m. 3 days later had national importance and may violate the U.S. Constitution. The petition seeks all appropriate remedies, including vacating the appointment of electors committed to Joe Biden and allowing the Pennsylvania General Assembly to select their replacements, Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani said in a statement. So that's the update there. We're going to keep on this. We're going to keep on these election filings, the legal challenges, what's going on in the state legislatures, those committee hearings. We're going to keep at it because the media just wants to push it away. People like Mitt Romney want you to forget about it and fall in line. We're not going to do it. Folks, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, and when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified, and we'll see you next time. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour. Okay, friends, thanks so much for watching. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell so you'll be notified. And here's a special video just for you so you can watch even more of the 13-minute news hour. And don't forget to check out GOPUSA.com for the best in conservative news and commentary. We'll see you next time.